Mic'd up today on the City Beat magazine is hit recording artist Terri Green. With over 2 decades in the music business, she is still on top of the charts with her current hit, Turnt Up Tonight. It is our pleasure to introduce to you the Queen of House, Miss Terri Green.
How are you, Tony? I'm good. I'm very glad, blessed that you kept in touch and invited me. I was like, oh, okay, Tony, thank you so much. So glad to be here and very proud of what you got going on. I mean, you really support independent artists, and for someone who's been with majors and independent, the independent world is a much more labor intensive grind, but the payoff is so much more pleasurable because you control a lot of your destiny.
We're talking to you from Germany. Your father was in the Air Force, and I don't know if that's how you ended up in Germany, or how long have you been there? And you are like major.
I actually came over. I was a manager I graduated from FAMU, Rattlers. I'm a rattler. I was always a weird rattler. I'm a Delta. I'm a weird Delta. They always call me strange. Right. But I was always compassionate and connected to everybody. So when I graduated, I kind of had this job offer to go to Germany, to Ramstein, and I took it because I wanted to go to Europe. And I said, oh, that'll be fun. I've been there as a kid. This will be great. I did not plan to stay. And actually, they offered me a job in New Mexico. And I said, nah, I can't do that. I can't leave Europe. And if I can't go to DC or New York or something, I'm not doing that. So I ended up going back and ended up in Ramstein for 25 years. My son was born there. And we've all, come back to the U.S. And I was home as much. You would think I lived in Baltimore. My mother's in Maryland. So I was born in Maryland, come back to Maryland. I'm a Maryland girl. But Germany just kind of gave me the start. And that's, what I did. And I went from management to sneaking into the music business, had a really cool boss, Jake Jacobs, never forget him. He allowed me to still be a manager while I was on TV and I was touring. And when it got to be too much, then he said, okay, it's time to cut that out. But yeah, I had a lot of people pretty much help me out.
Yeah. And I also know that you had the opportunity to meet and had even wanted to collaborate with Donna Summers. And
yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, Donna. So I write with the very known legendary songwriter, Steve Dorff. Steve wrote Through the Years and all these songs. His son is the famous actor who's on Blade and all these movies. But that doesn't really matter because he's one of my best friends. And he said, Terri, you always talk about Donna Summer. I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm friends with her husband. And he said, I'm going to tell him that you want to meet her. But it never worked out. I was never in LA when she was there. Then one night, a friend of mine called she was working for him in Switzerland. He said, you better bring your butt over here because if you want to meet Donna, I'm only going to do it once. So that was my voice for him. So I flew over, waited all day in his hotel. And at night, he said, be at the event at the arena. It was a huge, all the gold medalists. And then she sung in the middle. It was a whole thing. And then I waited. And then around 11 p.m., she came out and I started crying. And she was like, oh, Terri, girl, you ain't got to cry. I already know. You don't have to do this. I already know everything about you. I know you're a writer. Marvin told me everything. And she ended up hugging me and said, girl, whatever, come back. And she invited me back to her room, but we didn't go because I thought it's not respectful the first time. Let's let her breathe and then we'll keep this going. We talked about music. I knew more about her music than probably she even was thinking anybody ever knew. What song came out when, what was in 1977, what remixers had done, what they should have done. She said, if you can do it, so come on over to Nashville. And my engineer will work it out and we'll do like some, what we do, we sit in rooms and we just come up with melodies and stuff. And when I landed in Florida, I had realized I had not heard from her in 3 months. And when I landed in Orlando, I got my rental car and she died, turned on the radio. I swear to God, that's the only song I've ever recorded of Donna because she knew I did that version. And she died that morning, right when I landed. And I just sat in the parking lot like, this can't even be for real. So then I realized she had cancer, and she even mentioned to me that in 9/11 that she, she didn't feel good since then. Nothing to do with cancer. We weren't thinking about any of that. It's just something that she always talked about, that people were affected by 9/11. So Donna never smoked. Like me, I don't smoke or drink. I drink, a celebratory drink, but I'm not a drinker, never did drugs in the scene. So if any of that happens going forward, remember that before now, it wasn't.
Terry, tell me this. Did you write the the theme song for the hit TV show, So You Think You Could Dance?
I wrote a song that was featured in the show. I didn't write the theme song, but Steve Dorff, he did that. He wanted to do a dance song. And since he only did Take Good Care of My Heart and Barbra Streisand, when I go out to his house, I get him motivated to do other stuff. And he ended up doing this version of a song. I got him to play chords because he's a big string arranger as well right now. And his son, Andrew Dorff, actually was the producer of like Garth Brooks, not Garth, he did Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, he did all the Blake Shelton stuff. So this family is like high on the food chain, and he passed away 3 years ago. So I always checked on Steve because, give him a little uplift. And we did this dance song, and he said, guess what? I only did one, and it's going to be on this TV show. So we did that. And but I'm a big fan of the Carpenters, and he was one of the writers on her last record. So he pulls this stuff out for me. Listen to this, what I wrote, and listen. And it goes on endlessly with him. Oh, Celine Dion, I did a record for her. And those are the people around me who really grounded me because they're really cool. He eats fried chicken with his hand, walking around the house. And I said, oh, I love you. I love you. The opposite of what you think Hollywood big producer, directors are going to be. He's super cool, totally down to earth. So that was a real highlight to get to be on. I'm actually featured in the new Liam Neeson movie. In April, there's going to be a film called Memory with Liam Neeson and Guy Pearce, and they just took a song from me that'll be featured in that film. I don't even know what's happening. I'm 55. I thought, I don't care. I'm just in it trying to do this little soul song. People are coming back with stuff from 1982, 1977. I'm like, okay, what? We're just going with it.
Tell me this, Terry. We have what? 3 major publishing companies here in the U.S. and BMI, CSAC, and
BMI. Yeah. I'm actually a member of all of them, which is the most insane crap ever. No, because I was signed in Germany, I belonged to all these societies, and then I learned tricks of which ones you should totally belong to, which ones you partially belong. So I have a heck of a catalog too. I've written thousands of songs, thousands now, and I've released more than 1,000 singles. So when you try to check stuff, it's a disaster. We're in the middle of this right now, but I belong to BMI and ASCAP for some catalog. And then I also belong to the German one. GEMA is my main one. And I belong to the Russian one because my Russian girl collects the whole Eastern Europe. So yeah, it's a crazy life. And artists don't realize that they need to do that. Because, for example, I'm a member of PPL in the UK. They do a great job collecting in certain territories, but America is super good with like South America. So it's always interesting if artists talk to other artists and get this information. So glad that I could just say that.
That's interesting because not only are you a singer, songwriter, you know the business.
Tony, I would have loved to have just been, a singer that just sang and people ran around and did stuff. This would be a pleasurable experience. I just didn't have that shoe in. I got in where I had to produce the record, write the record, sing the record, arrange the record, and we don't really want to put your name on that. So, right. Now I'm more concerned with getting production credit because I've actually produced a lot of records. Okay. And I often would say, since I didn't engineer the record, but I do old school producing where you put every aspect of the act together. Who's going to creative direct? Who's going to write it? Who's going to produce it? What mixes you need? Who's going to checking in with the mixer in Australia? I do all of that even for the Terri Green project. And I think it was important that people not only see the guy playing the piano as a producer, but see the person that gets it all done as a producer. And that was what a producer was until the age of DJ, when we started to want to make the person at the decks and just, make everyone a producer, which is fine. But you also, a lot of singers, Anaya Day, I'm friends with Crystal Waters, they are producers. They sit there and they put it all together. You see Mesa's new record, she's putting the whole thing together. She really produces all of this stuff. So it doesn't mean you play all the instruments. It means you do orchestrate your something to a success. And I think that would be a good producer. You can do it the opposite.
I hear you. I tell you, you're such a reservoir with a wealth of knowledge and experience. What would you say to someone that's looking just to get into the entertainment business? That they're struggling, they're hearing a lot of no's, or maybe have self-doubt. What are some of the key things that you would say to any new artist?
I would say, regardless of your age, background, ethnicity, sexuality, no matter what is going on, don't give yourself a time limit. Don't say it needs to be next week, because next week is going to be very disappointing. Always leave the door open and keep a job. Keep your education intact. I don't say, even though I have a degree, I don't know if a degree is always necessary for everyone. Some people my friend who went to college with me, who started her secretarial career, made $100,000 by the time I had gotten, my second year of my job. So I think you have to find a skill that fits you, but keep some coins coming in, and try to keep a little savings, and be responsible in your private life so it doesn't hinder your professional life. If you want to be a singer, I couldn't have 5 children. I only have 1, because 1 is all I could manage with that crazy life. Having 3, 4 kids in that would have been disastrous. So you have to manage the private and the public life. And also read. Don't tell me you're on. I get so upset, and this is where I think I'm getting old. If you tell me, well, I don't know that song, I never heard of Janet Jackson. Somebody really said that to me. I said, but you're in the pop business, and she sold more records than God. So how on earth do you sit on Instagram every day and you don't know who she is? And if you tell me it's because she's not born in your time, neither was Beethoven, but I know who he is. Neither was Bach. So what's your point?
That's right.
So
That's right.
You sound ignorant, and you sound like it's okay if you're not in the music business, but you can't be in the pop business or the R&B business and not know basic facts. And that's why I always admire Clive Davis, someone I would have loved to work with. Clive really trained people, knew Whitney knew her stuff, regardless, they all were so polished. And he was probably, for me, one of the best managers and mental producers of how to get someone to the right place. And you saw that in how long these people lasted with their actual recording career. And yeah, that would be my advice. Just don't put so many limits on yourself. Don't give so many deadlines, and educate yourself stop saying, well, I don't know about publishing. Google, what is publishing? Start there. What is a royalty statement? Don't get mad because the man offered you 1 point. Read, what is 1 point? What is a point? I don't know. Just look it up. That's what I did. And we had to use books back in the 80s. My son didn't like to read. He's a designer in New York. He was one of the few, I think he's one of the only men of color at Kenneth Cole in the footwear design. Then he went to Steve Madden, and in the pandemic. Now he's still working with Jeff Henderson. They do some Nike and this and that. He's involved in a lot. And he was a former basketball player, and I kept saying, can you start reading? You're going to have to read something, bruh. That's how I talked to him, bruh. And then finally, now he got a book in his hand all the time. I never thought I'd see that, but he said it clicked on how therapeutic that was, and that he also had knowledge when he talks to other people. I said, boy, you don't even sound like. He literally came after he graduated from college, said, bruh, this education you just finished as a basketball player, Ain't nobody gonna hire you with that. You need to go do something. And
That's
so
right.
he went back and got his second bachelor's in
Oh,
Denmark
wow.
because he's half Danish and they give free education. And he soared. He took all the education from the first school, with the technical knowledge, and he was able to actually do an interview and get a job. So yeah, our young athletes don't understand. And I used to go down and talk to the boys. I would take them for pizza and I would say, you're just a horse in the stable. And when your time on the path is done on the track, you have got to plan for yourself. All of them still talk about it. Even a week ago, they just talked about that. I always said that, because stop thinking you're so important. You're not. This moment will pass. Even if you're in the NBA, this time will pass.
Where can we find out more about you, about your music, career, online?
Online. So www.terry-green.com. On Instagram, I'm Terri Green. You can find me through the Terri Green Project. And I am now about to release a single with Randy Hall. It's called Get Turnt Up Tonight. Turnt Up Tonight. It's a grown and sexy kill. I love it. I mean, Randy, you know, I saw him on Soul Train back in the 80s. Never would think this is going to be my buddy. And, you know, he was at Howard Hewitt looking, produced by Ray Parker. I know Ray Parker as well through him. And these guys, I said, oh, light skin and long hair is coming back, bro. And they're gorgeous. This guy is not aging. So we're going to do Randy Hall feature with the Terri Green Project. And then I'm going to drop a solo record called Caught Up. And that's going to be, that was mixed and produced by Raheem Devon's producer, Face out of Maryland. He did that for me, thanks to Lenny Harris from NWO. And Reggie Staggers is producing it with me, the brother of Mark Staggers. So there's a lot going on. I'm so proud of that record. We've done some really nice, I call it hot and greasy soul records.
Well, I can't wait, Terry, to get that music, and I'm going to go back and just listen to some of your other stuff, because you're new to me. I thank God for the urban influencers that's made this opportunity happen, so that we can meet you and other magnificent independent artists.
Brilliant. And I'm so glad to also have your network, to network with each other, not only for the projects that involve us, but something comes to mind. I find relationships go much to last 30 years in the music business. You have to play ball. You have to be you have to be a partner and a team player. And if you're only selfish ego, it doesn't work like this.
Right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my new friend. That's Terri Green. And definitely look her up, check out her music, and definitely purchase all of what you can, especially this new record. I know it's going to be off the charts.
All right, Tony, thank you so much.
And take it to the dance floor, dancing all night. Music is right. Oh, let's get turned up tonight. Turned up tonight. Celebrate the light. Shine on me bright. Oh, let's get turned up tonight. Turn up, turn up, turn up tonight.
Everyone's when they're very best, showing off the way they move and groove, enjoying themselves. Please, DJ, set our hearts on fire. Getting down and having fun, our only desire.